Hello, friends. Welcome to the Existentialist. This channel is dedicated to helping you lead a purpose driven life and find purpose in what you do. My name is OJ. I'm an existential coach. This series is about having candid conversations with people from all walks of life, having radically different thoughts. This is a special edition with Biren Shah, who's a dear friend of mine. This is really rare to have such a recording. It's raw, real, really rare to come across something like this on the internet, and is full of little insights that is totally different to what you might come across on a day-to-day basis. It's about Biren's own created ideology around rewilding and restoring. So, a different story to tell about the current state of things and rewilding or going back into the wild or finding the wild in yourself. So, what's going to follow is the actual recording. It's uncensored. It is just a flow of conversation that we've had, and I hope you find it as useful as I did. Enjoy.
Wanting to just share and converge so that then we can go wherever everything goes. This is a kind of a mindful way to realize that every moment we are actually life and creating life. And we are just being very mindful that here we are not only receiving life, we are also creating life. So the spirits are there to bless us, but they are also here to be blessed by us because we are participating. And we are also creating something for them as much as they are creating things for us. And to come into this natural power that we have of creating life and just start from there and just flow from there. So that's the intention.
My intention is to flow with the conversation wherever it would like to be taken.
There's a very flash of an image that I saw. Uh, there's an Ojas, that is kind of here. And that's usually maybe where he is. But this moment it seemed as if it wanted to be or that wanted to is waiting to come down fully, not in any kind of a you know expectant as in that kind of way, but fully heartful, expansive way of expecting to kind of come down. I could literally see that.
Yeah, so what you described, it's not easy, I, I find, to let that Ojas on top to slow down. And much as there is a desire for that to happen, it's really not as flowing as it's talked about, or as people say that I went to this place and you know that surrender happened, or I was speaking to this person and I just melted away. uh, Personally, I find it very difficult, although there is a yearning for that to happen.
Um, there are two things. One is more like a sense that rises in the moment, and one is something that comes from. It's not intellectual, but it comes more from what we normally call as wisdom, because something you have experienced over life. Wisdom in a very very simple terms, not some airy fairy things. Yeah, wisdom is just when you live life for 5 years and the same thing, you've seen so much happen. Even if you are a clerk, you have seen 5 years, so many different things on a platform of something that is very same. It's almost like that. So the first instantaneous thing that kind of what I saw was there's a purpose to this, and it's almost like physically all I saw was that you are at a height, let's say 5 feet or 6 feet, but here you have eyes, simply very physical laws, which are maybe 9 feet or 12 feet. You see further. That's as simple as something like that, because it was simply an image. The other thing that all instantaneously, like parallel was there, was the more we seek for the union, the more clogged that channel becomes for that to kind of come in and go out. And something that came from, you know, like what I call as wisdom or whatever it is, which was more from within. This was like I captured something. This came. We human beings, like unlike any other species, are floating on Earth, because we have always felt that we come from some universe. We have never found our home on planet Earth. We are waiting to go back. We are wanting to ascend. We
Yeah.
are, yeah, and all the while we have never seen that we actually come out from Mother Earth like trees. But because we associate with this, we feel that we are floating. And
Mm.
when that happens, even the spirit cannot enter us, because the spirit is actually wanting to enter us simply because we are like those lightning arresters coming from Earth. And the spirit, universal spirit, is actually wanting to rain down to not to meet us, it is wanting to meet Mother Earth. It's almost like universal consciousness and Earth consciousness, they are wanting to have a romance. And we were produced so that we could be the lightning, the human being. We could be the lightning arresters or the coffee shop for the romance to happen. Your meeting place for universal consciousness and the Earth consciousness. Easier for this conversation, spirit and soul. Yeah, we carry the soul and we also carry the spirit, and our bodies are kind of meant to, a long-winded way of saying that for this to happen, the more we plant our roots, inside. The more you feel that you are a part of the earth, the easier it starts becoming to receive this. And that we can do it through bodies, through nature. Yeah, these are the two things that.
But that's not what the teachings say, right? The various traditions. Do they say that we belong to Earth or not really, right?
None of them say that. I mean, they have different, in some ways, they have gone till there, but they have, and maybe that's the place in history where we have reached, where the consciousness is right now telling us that enough is enough. It's not that you have been misled, but now we are kind of, can you see that this is the missing piece? That you are not aliens visiting planet Earth. You are the Earth, and you are here to receive the Spirit. You are not spiritual beings who are here to experience Earth. You are Earthlings, and you are not even here to experience the Spirit. You are here so that the Spirit can experience Earth. You are embodying the Earth. Maybe that's what, at least I feel that, and that's the feeling I have that my work is about.
Mm. And how does that also fit in with the Swargalok, I guess? You know, the higher planes, the astral planes that you have an opportunity to evolve to if you do a great job in this life.
Yeah, those are stories. I think recently I heard Sadhguru. I don't usually, I've never, even Osho I resonated the most, but I've never read him, maybe bits and pieces. But Sadhguru, I keep, those videos keep on coming, and one or two of them I watch, and he has a lot better way of saying them. And he's the first one I said, oh, I never thought. He says ours is not a culture of God at all. We have no God. We have divine beings. And I think I really, Ojas, I really don't know all about that. I'm still on a journey. It's just that I have this very strong sense inside me that through my experience, and then also my experience of what the collective is about, is that we have reached a point in consciousness where these old stories of we being or everything being from outside, uh, and we are just recipients, and we have to kind of raise. I'm simply questioning that in my life every day, not willfully or intentionally. It's just there. I'm the living question, and I don't have all the answers. There are times when then suddenly I'm kind of grappling with something for years sometimes, and then suddenly everything comes in such a beautiful form and a story that has kept on happening. So my job is to just hold this question, and yes, of course, share whatever I come to know. And there are times also when I become human, no, I want to say, this is it. And but I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you and other people, that this is the work of Mother Earth. Number one, we, because of the language, we say this is not my work alone. This work belongs to many of us. At at the level of the reality that we see, that sounds kind of very apt. But I can also see a collective, like a forest, and one tree saying, can you come? Let us work together for this forest to evolve. And that's stupid. Yeah. It's never one tree saying that, okay, we'll have to work together towards. Previously, it was like that one tree is saying, I will ascend and everyone will ascend, something like that. But there are bodhisattvas who say that unless and until everyone evolves, the evolution cannot happen. That is a kind of a clue towards the reality of that collective, where we feel we are separate and yet kind of at one level we are not. So it's almost as if I can't, when I see this and I keep on sharing, and at the human level, that's quite okay. But I'm also wanting to move towards that actual reality where we are all one, and see in what way this also kind of works and resonates with other people. Yeah. So there is a little more focused way in this 3D world to open up to this, whatever is wanting to happen.
So what does this active reality mean? Or what does it look like?
In simple human terms, it's like if you try and kind of try to remember your memories of going into a forest. Yeah. The kind of forest that you see is, you can see trees and so many things. Yeah. But when you enter into a forest, there is a certain feeling. This is the forest. Let's say it's a Devdar forest or forest of Dharamsala. And you are able to move out into another forest, then you have a very distinct feeling that this is a different forest. It's that one single thing. This is Dharamsala forest, and this is, let's say, Manali forest. We have that, what we see is the forest, but what we feel is that one single entity. In the human experience, we see the essence, but don't see the forest that is there. Because of this physicalized reality, that Dharamsala forest becomes like an entity, and all the trees and the forest disappear in the human. Yeah. So
Right.
in the human way of understanding, and it is going to take generations before we can actually start, this can become a reality that is more solidly perceived, even if it is not physically solid, where people will say, oh yeah, I know, this is kind of Dharamsala forest. And somewhere we Indians have experienced that in a very minor way in our joint family, where supposing the elder son would go out and earn, it is his salary, but he is never able to look at the money as if it is mine. He goes out like an arm of the body, and the money that comes belongs to the body. Yeah. And we have had that experience, so it's there in ourselves, so it's not that difficult. And when we go to the forest, something happens, we actually, it's almost like when you immerse into the forest like a swimming pool, you completely submerge yourself, immerse yourself, and the pressure of that brings out the oxygen comes out from you because of that pressure. The nature and your natural nature that is there emerges. And of course, it doesn't happen always. There are certain things that stop that from happening. For example, I'll just say that very largely, grossly, there are three kind of people, if you and experiences, not people. We don't want to, kind of I mean, it's more like an archetype rather than people. When we say people, it becomes judgmental. There are tourist kind of archetypes. Oh, wow, clack, 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 clack. They are in nature, they are in the forest, but they are somewhere else. Then there is a nature lover. Wow, what a sunset. And for us, that's the highest. We feel we are really connected. there's a third level possible and available. It's like a bird. When the bird looks at the sunset, it doesn't go, oh wow, what a sunset. So what is the difference between the second and the third is that in the second you are connected, yes. And then because of that connection, what we are doing is we are experiencing something. Yeah. And that experience is like a cloth that comes between the forest or nature and us. And the union cannot happen. You can't have sex with clothes on, something like that. So when that drops, for us at least, we have to start from that experience and then allow ourselves to just allow that experience also to go, because that's going to come up. So the only practical way is to just sit till that even that experience goes away and wait for that moment when there is such a union that you are like a bird that looks at the sun, and for the bird and the sunlight or sunset are the same. I mean, they are, yeah. That's why it doesn't. Oh, it's just me or something like that. It's a very at an experiential level, it's the same. Though there is kind of a difference.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like this hand experiencing this hand. Yeah, and yet not feeling that they are.
So you become part of the forest or part of the sunset
Yes, and the nature and everything.
as an outsider.
And then you become that, and that's a very different dimension that you enter into. It's amazing. Then there are things that happen, and you are actually, even though experiences are happening, you are actually able to catch something happens
Hmm.
because the consciousness is like that, and it almost feels as if the forest starts speaking to you, but it's a very different language.
Is there a wall in between these three categories?
Wall.
Yeah. Is there
Uh,
like, you know, now I am in the first situation,
but
now
yeah,
I'm in the second situation.
first and second, I don't know. I mean, I somehow I just thought it is very obvious what the wall would be. So I'm not going there. And maybe we can go back there. But like in the second and third, like I said, the beautiful way to really actually, the moment we experience something, and when we know this, that experience, how I'm experiencing something, and that experience is keeping me away, but that also can become a portal for me to enter that experience in such a way that the experience drops away. So that wall itself becomes a connector. Yeah,
Hmm.
right now I'm not one, but I'm connected, and this experience tells me I'm connected. So I am already in that corridor. If I
Hmm.
just move from that being that corridor into that corridor, something will happen on its own.
Hmm.
I think that's what I meant when the nature speaks to you and your nature rises. You submerge yourself,
Hmm.
something happens.
Hmm. So to relate, whenever I've felt that I've merged with the nature, I don't have much experience to share. Then I have to actually extract from that moment and try to construct words around it at a later point. But oftentimes there is no longer an active experience. It is just, you know,
Easiness,
just happening.
easiness.
Isness, yeah.
Yeah. So very interesting was it. Thank you so much. This is what I mean by, because I have had this experience. I will not know the whole process, but when there are questions, then I can see and maybe find out what could be.
Hmm.
Um, I'm already sensing something, but that's so much. Either it is too much of word because it's a complex thing, or then some words come up, it feels too simple, something like that's what I'm struggling with right now. So,
It's okay. You can just, whatever comes out.
yeah, but it uh, things are rising, it's like
Mm,
energetically rising. So
mm,
I would, the only way I can put it across right now, and before I go there, I would like to say thank you for this beautiful
mm,
question, because it's like throws a flashlight on a certain aspect of that, which now will help me to kind of look at it, in a broader way, like microscope again. So I'm really very grateful for that question.
mm,
The right for the moment, what I would say is there is a descent that has to happen for us humans, you know, because all our consciousness has been, it's like we have been land being, yeah, never even, we have seen the ocean, but for us, oceans was waves. We have not even been able to dip our toes. So we don't even know what water is. And now you jump into the ocean and you thought that it was waves. There's a time that that whole consciousness, which is the collective human consciousness, not only your individual, please understand that. It's a collective human consciousness that has not descended into the oceanness of this earthiness. We think that we know so much about Earth, but in that experience, we amphibians भी नहीं हैं.
mm,
So I think it might, what is coming to me is you are entering that, and you're slowly descending like a scuba diver, more and more into it, and things are happening. It might take a little while. And then when something very seminal, which can bring, it may be very subtle, but it is a leverage point, very subtle thing, which can shift, as if there is a whole matrix of this consciousness. It will find that point where it can actually shift something. So your level jumps and you are actually able to make. Till that time, you will only have this kind of 3D world में ये experience क्या था वैसे. But in this earthiness वाला जो experience है उसके लिए एक आएगा shift. So the more and more you go there, and the other is when you go to old forest where the energies are very intense and powerful and strong, the faster that can become. There are forests which are not that old. They are kind of a very light energy. There are intense forests which are old forests. So there you can, that descent can happen very fast, which is also kind of something inside you rises, your nature rises. So you might, I think that what might be happening, to keep on having that experience, and coming back and journaling or whatever sharing is an equally important part.
mm,
You can't leave this aside. No? You are not only going there, it's both have to meet, the mind and, or the spirit and the soul, or the mind and the body. Yeah, that's the that's the
mm,
whole point. I'm sorry for this such a long-winded thing, but
mm. But you're saying that in reference to me.
yeah, and generally also that this kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, but it's so important in us in terms of this rewilding school. This question has
mm,
kind of thrown a light on something that for me it would have been so difficult, because I come from my experience. So it seems obvious, but when you bring in this, then I can go back and kind of, yeah. And sometimes we may have to go out into the forest together to ask the question.
Mm.
30-second silence.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah. See, this is something that now I'm very excited.
Mm.
You remember I was doing those calls, the summer calls? Yeah. One of the things that I learned from there, whatever experience, is sometimes I'm talking and I would suddenly drop into a silence, I keep talking, there is a crack, and I was actually able to catch those. So they were portals. And when we are able to catch those portals, then what we are doing is we are not having conflicts. Because conflicts are, for me, I've seen and experienced that whenever we are walking somewhere and in flow, then we are flowing. When something else needs to come in, but our focus is not there, then what happens is life stops us. It comes up as stopping as conflict, which is the flow attack gaya hai. But we are focused more on the conflict, but not in the pause that something is wanting to come,
Mm.
something that is very essential for us going forward. So this portal came as an almost like an okay, not to have an inner conflict or outer conflict. If you can catch this and drop into the portals, the silence opens up and brings something that is there.
Right. Right.
And this silence that I just suddenly felt, I want to have this 30-second silence. There was something happening. And then I got up and I suddenly realized that restoring the answer, one of the second piece of the answer, response. It's not an answer and not uh, that language. The, the response that was coming to your question, the second aspect was this restoring. The restoring is actually about undoing through the stories and changing the stories, this coding that has already happened inside us. Our consciousness also is locked in by the language and the stories. Yeah. And so that is the whole purpose of the restoring. And that is why rewilding and restoring are inseparable. Yeah. And with that restoring, what happens is your descent becomes much more easier because you have got helpful stories to kind of uh,
Would you like to explain more about rewiring and restoring? So that was the pretext of the call, right?
uh,
And still something which maybe if you feel like in this moment to elaborate, and also I would like to know what this is about or what that urge was about to want to bring
yeah.
out and share.
I would like to use you as a kind of a measuring what is wanting to happen. Uh, Out of these two things, restoring and rewilding, what's what seems to be more calling your attention or attracting? And let's assume that that is what is wanting to happen.
So I guess rewilding, because looking at things as stories and storytelling is something that maybe I'm familiar with, although I'm sure there is something fresh and unique about this. But rewilding sounds more raw. And I was having this conversation with a friend maybe over a year ago who had an initiative called Wild Peace, which also entails
Oh, me too.
being in the wild. Exactly.
Me,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I'm doing the wild piece work with her.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's
So
wow.
you know better than me, and just the word wild brought about something actually uncomfortable. And I remember her saying, we just had like a general conversation. I remember her saying that wild doesn't have to mean chaotic. And yet, I guess we are very accustomed to living in a tamed manner, right? Taming our senses, taming our desires, running it through a sensor board which is inside. Is it right to feel this way? Is it right to aspire for this? Yeah. So rewilding sounds more, I would say, provocative, both in the juicy way and the scary way.
Anyway, so I'll share exactly how it came to me, and it came to me. It was a surprise because it came in a form which, for me, also was. It is not my usual way of looking at it. And for me, that was a sign that this was more like a kind of coming together of things. People use the word download and upload, and for me, uh, I understand that, but for me, it's much more or different than that. Um, if you ask every person on the planet Earth, there will not be a single person who will say that we are not cutting down trees, we are not destroying forests, we are not degrading the environment. There won't be one single person who would deny that, or everyone is seeing this. When we look at the nature, the trees, the forest, the environment, if you close your eyes and in that, do you ever see one single human being?
In what? In nature.
When you are thinking in this way that we are cutting down trees, we are destroying forests, we are
Hmm.
degrading the environment. So what is kind of being acted upon, that whole nature environment? In that, do you ever see a human being?
Hmm. So they are a separate, we are seeing them as a separate entity.
Yes, it's almost as if the whole humanity has come here like this, and we are looking at forests and trees and all that.
Hmm.
And yet, we never see this is happening because when we are talking, oh, we are part of forest, we are part of nature, we know that. But are we living from that point? We are not realizing. Most of the things in life are happening like that, right?
So for the common man, I would say that they would not even say that I am part of nature,
Yeah,
because in cities there is a very deliberate artificiality,
yeah,
and there is a very well defined separation that, nature is like an unwanted thing, which, okay, we need trees because it looks nice and we need to plant a few trees along the roads, but really it's taking away our land which we could be using for more buildings and roads. And
mm,
we are encroaching upon forests, we are encroaching upon the sea, we are doing reclamation, creating land so that we could, yeah.
yeah. But just like when you ask any person, and not a single person would deny that we are cutting down trees, destroying forests and degrading the environment. There will not be a single person, if you see, in whatever his language is, that I am a part of Kudra or nature or planet Earth. Yeah. These two being the same, still when we look at that, we are not able to see, bring that whole thing. And these two are not coming together. Yeah. Now, so now that we have come to know, let us bring it together. When you look at trees being cut down, and at the same time see that the number of trees are decreasing, but the number of humans are increasing. And you are not to judge that ये आम का पेड़ है, ये आसोपालव है, और ये आदमी का पेड़ है. पेड़ पेड़ है, तो आदमी भी पेड़ है. Then, if you close your eyes, then what is the kind of deforestation that you see? If the humans were also trees, yeah. That's the first. Just seeing this is a rewilding that is already happening. You are, if you are nature, then you are in some ways a tree or some species, or you are a part of the forest. Yeah. It's just that we can't see the forest around. Now, a human being is the highest expression of Mother Earth and her evolution. So let us look at it in a mythical way, like a story that we were produced so that, the complexity that can come in form in that evolution. We are the highest order of complexity of planet Earth that can come together, which started from single-celled bacteria. We are everything. An insect, if you catch, that insect it carries the whole history of evolution only till insect. But if you catch human, he is the whole of planet Earth, the history of evolution. Yeah, that's the highest order, which means we are more than any animal. What if we are not trees or we don't have any form like that, because we are ourselves a whole ecosystem in itself? What if? What if you are a forest? In so many ways, you can't wrap your mind around that, and yet you can't completely, in some ways, कुछ तो ऐसा हो सकता है. We are much more than a simple organism like any other animal. There is some complexity that is not only there in our bodies, there is something that we carry because of our consciousness and minds and all that. So what if we are forests, not only trees? How would we live if we could actually live from that place that I'm a forest or I'm an ecosystem? It's not about going back to the jungles. It's actually about seeing. And this is where I was kind of stunned. It was for me, it was like it would have, if it was that you have to really come back and connect with forest, it makes sense. But this was like a blow to me and a slap on my face. That what if our cities are also wilderness? It's just that we are not, we have not accepted that and we are not living from that place. Just that. And simply because of that higher consciousness, which can turn one organism into an ecosystem, the same thing is keeping that organism from being an organism.
No, I didn't get that. It still seems that there is an individual and there is a city and there is a forest. And how are they interchangeable? How can it be experienced?
So right now, just at a level of intellectual imagination, whatever I've explained, if you can see that. And if you feel something inside that, yes, if this is true, I would really like to dive deep into this more. Not, it could be out of individual curiosity, but mostly it will come from an inner sense of a truth that I want to and I have to follow this. It's almost like a future or your future self or whatever is falling out to you. It's almost like can sense that this is who I am, your potential, or it's not even for me, it's not even a potential with it. It's like in a parallel world, we are living like an ecosystem. It's just that this dimension, we are not able to experience it. It's a parallel world. And it's just that wheel needs to go away. And it's almost like those two streams will meet. So it's not a potential like a seed that will grow. It doesn't feel like that at all. So then comes this rewilding school. Okay. Now what will happen is it is basically only providing this kind of a conscious platform of consciousness and an invitation and a chance to immerse yourself in nature. And there are people who will walk along with you. And when you go into the forest, I'm kind of painting the picture what might happen. So you immerse yourself in forest and you, whatever we do, I don't know what will happen because I have no idea. This just came to me. So it has to take shape as we talk. But it's going on and I'm painting a picture or I'm seeing a picture and then we are doing whatever we are supposed to do in that immersion of nature and you keep on coming and then one day suddenly you start having this sense which is rising inside you that I am so feeling connected with these trees. It almost seems that I'm a part of their world. Some people even today without rewilding school say that I feel I can listen to the trees. But when I can listen to the trees, I and the tree are still separate. Let's say some other person suddenly feels I feel a kinship with the animal, and she feels that she is an animal. Now she has entered that world. It's that connection has gone one more step, and she says, "I have a kinship, and I am an animal." And the another invitation from the school of rewilding is that are you actually an animal or are you seeing more than the animal? You can see everything about the animal world. What if you are not an animal? You are neither connected with them, you are not a part of the animals, but you are yourself the world of animals. And that's the second level where that kind of, it's only after that experience this really makes sense to them, which will open up a portal to really see suddenly that I am not a part of the animals. I am the animal world itself. There's something that is built inside us where we understand not only the animals but the whole thing because we are carrying everything inside us. And by going into the nature, that is those cellular memories have started vibrating, and because of our consciousness, we hold this whole world.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
Imagine such individuals like they are. This is maybe it's not an ecosystem like a forest. Maybe it is like this. They are all we are all worlds of animals and trees or something like that. We
mm,
don't know. I don't know what could it be. This is how it came to me that
mm, yeah,
yeah, and this is the second level, and that's it. After that,
yeah. I guess after that is not open to discussion.
I don't even know. I don't even know will this will happen. This is more to open up my consciousness and just say yes to this work. That's it.
Mhm. Yeah. I guess after this, whatever there is, my sense is that it cannot be conveyed through language and communication. So just to confirm, this second level, second stage that you mentioned, where you feel that you are the animal kingdom, you mean that you feel one with the animal kingdom and you see yourself as an animal, still as an individual, or you start to see yourself as a collective, as a whole collective within yourself.
Yes, more like that. It's almost like when you draw a circle, you draw a circle,
Mm,
but with a circle, what comes in without having drawn it is the center of the circle.
mm,
Yeah. So this is something else, that I am the center. And then I come to realize what is that circle that I represent. All I need to do is know is the radius.
mm.
So then I know I am a circle, but I can't see it. But I know that as the center, I hold the circle. That's the image that kind of came to me. A little bit, I think I'm feeling my body is feeling a little overwhelmed with all this. Maybe a little bit of silence.